Here. Welcome to our Webinar Wednesday series, and I am especially glad to be here for this webinar and glad to get started with these once again. Just a little bit of housekeeping. Remember, you will all get a copy of the webinar, a link afterwards so you can access it later, because I know a lot of people do sign up and then watch them at their convenience. And these will also all be on our webpage in our list of webinars. We have probably about 80 of them now. Many different topics. It's a great resource for a lot of questions that you'll have. We've covered about most of the major topics at this point. So you will get that. On the bottom of your screen, you should have a Q&A box. Type in questions as you have them, and we'll entertain the questions afterwards, not during the meeting, and I'll be asking those questions to our guest speaker today. Carolina Diaz is a consultant, been with Jamesway and Chick Master, I believe, about 10 years, maybe a little over 10 years now. Has a lot of academic experience and then a lot of experience with incubation hatcheries, especially with the topic that she'll be covering. She does a great job for us in assessing your hatchery and how to get the most out of your equipment using the data that's there. So Carolina, if you would briefly kind of give everybody a Spanish intro and tell them where they can get the interpretation.
Okay. Buenos días a todos. Gracias por unirse al webinar del día de hoy. Van a poder hacer preguntas durante la presentación. En la parte de abajo van a encontrar el Q&A, donde podrán hacer sus preguntas escritas. Y en la parte inferior también se encuentra un globo. En ese globo pueden oprimir ese botón y escoger el idioma de su preferencia. El día de hoy vamos a hablar acerca de Hatchcom y de Maestro.
All right, thank you very much. All right, well, with that, again, I'm very glad to be here and happy to be hosting with Carolina. And with that, I will turn the time over to her and let her proceed with her presentation. And then I'll join you back up at the end so we can have a nice little discussion about everything. So, Carolina.
Great. Thank you so much for your introduction. And thank you for letting me do this presentation. So let me share a screen real quick. So again, good morning, everybody. Today we're going to talk about two monitoring systems that we have available on Jamesway. One is for the Chickmaster line and the other one is for the Jamesway line. So this is a system that is available and what it does is it let us graph and monitor all the incubation equipment for both lines. And so it is very important to not just have it, also review it, analyze it, and monitor it. Most of the hatcheries, they own it, or some of them they have it, but some of them they don't really get the time to see it unless there is a problem or there is a problem shooting. So as a routine, it is very important to take a look to it and see some of the things that are happening here. So today we're going to cover these topics. So the first one will be what type of information the monitoring systems provide in both systems, Maestro and Hatchcom. The second topic will be what can you review on both? So what are the tools we have on both systems? And the last one, we're going to cover about real examples of graph interpretation. So we will see some cases, some real cases, and what can we conclude from the graphs and the information we have. So let's start with the first topic. The first thing that we can see in both systems are the incubation or the layout of the hatchery. So in both systems, we have some of the tools and the menus in the upper side of the screen. And then we have the layout of the hatchery where we can find incubator rooms and hatcher rooms. If we have a control that can be connected to our systems, we will also see the ventilation equipment that can include egg storage room, of course, incubator rooms, hatcher rooms, transference room, chick holding room, chick processing room, etc., etc. And you can have all the rooms that you have connected to the systems if you own ventilation control that was sold by our system, even if it's a Jamesway or a Master control. So if it's a Jamesway control, you can join it to Hatchcom, and if it is a Maestro control, a Master control, you can join it to the Maestro. Also, on the first view of the layout, you will see like a quick view of each machine. So we will see it like a little bit farther. However, you can see like the temperature settings, or the real temperature, the humidity, the damper position, and the fan position for the Jamesway line. And for the Chickmaster line, you will see the temperature and the humidity. One of the good things we have from Jamesway is that you will have like a standard name of the machines. So if it's an SCI, it will be a single stage incubator. And if it has an M, it will be a multi-stage incubator. So you can find and figure out on the first view what kind of equipment do you have. However, in the other hand, you will find in Maestro that you can customize the name. So both systems provide good tools. It's just different type of tools. Okay, so on the machine overview, on the Hatchcom side, we will see, if we do like a double click, or if we go through the control, we will find the same layout that we have on the Platinum control. And we can do some of the let's say like the commands that you can do when you're stepping in front of the machine. There are some that they are not available, but some of them they are. So this is the main view you will see on the screen of the incubator that you select. And on the Chickmaster hand, you will see a different screen. So it won't be the same what you see when you're in front of the machine. You will see like a different type of screen. However, they show mostly the same set points, actual temperature and actual humidities, damper and temperature positions. You will see also fan speeds. You will see turning systems. So it is similar. The only difference is the way you see it in both type of systems. Another tool that give us this kind of monitoring and software systems are alarm logs. So we are going to be able to see when did the alarm start and when did it end. And that is a very important tool, because we can see if the alarm, if somebody shut it down, or if it was attended or not, or if it was silenced and then it repeat, which means it was not attended. So it gives us the opportunity to take a look to the alarm status of each equipment. Again, incubator, hatchers, and ventilation equipment. You will also see what kind of alarm do you have active. So if you have a humidity alarm or a temperature alarm or a fan alarm, etc., 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 you can see what type of alarm was it. And another option you have available is, of course, identifying what type of control was alarming or what type of equipment was alarming. An extra bonus we have there is that if you have users, you may be able to see if who attended or not attended, or who did attend or not attend that kind of alarm, if you have like a maintenance team. So that is very important, especially when we're doing troubleshooting, because some of the first steps I want to see sometimes is what type of alarms did the machine have during the incubation cycle or during the hatchery cycle. And it will give us some clues about what was happening with the machine, or if it was something wrong, you know. Well, another option we have available is incubation profile, or our incubation profiles. So on the incubation profiles, we can edit and save profiles. We can send profiles or setting to a specific machine or specific machines. You can skip a step. So for example, I don't know, like there is like a hatch window that is delayed, and we want to run behind to have more heat on the hatcher. So we can go back to the previous stage on the profile. So those kind of things can be done from the monitoring system, which helps especially like hatchery managers when they are not on site. You can also skip steps. So for example, if the hatch is ahead of time and we think the chicks are ready, we can also skip for the next step and try to or adjust temperature on the step where we are at, so we can again go back or forward. Both ways are available. Another option you can do is start a profile on a specific time. So you can have like the hour that you want the incubation to be started, and you can start the profile on that time. You can leave the eggs, of course, on a holding mode, and then say, okay, I wanna leave the eggs on the holding mode or on egg storage mode for 1 day, and then the next day we want to start the profile on, let's say, 3 in the morning. We can do that. It is not necessary anymore to have somebody in there to be starting the profile. Another offering that we have here are the graphs. So graphs are also seen on the control. However, they are not as detailed as in the monitoring system. So both of them let us select the display time frequency. It also let us activate and deactivate items. For example, I just want to see humidity because I want to see the hatch window detailed. So I can just highlight humidity and see the graph. Or for example, I just want to see heating and cooling according to time. I can do that as well. So, or I want to clean the graph just to not have everything on there, pop in there. I can do also that. Another tool that gives us the graphs are identifying the parameters at specific times. So I can put my mouse on a special, like on a specific point of the graph, and it will let us know what time is it on that point, what is the temperature, the humidity, and all the settings on that point, CO2, damper position, etc., etc. So you can see on specific times where are you located. Well, now we're gonna see some of the tools that are available on one of the other or the other. systems. So the first one will be compare graphs. This is a tool that is available on Maestro. And it is very, very functional, especially for hatch windows. As this example, we have select hatcher number 4, but we are comparing it to hatcher 3. And we can see that both of them had similar humidity curves. So this tool let us compare all the parameters. It is not just humidity. I can compare heating, I can compare cooling, I can compare the stage program, the set points, the real temperature, the damper opening. Everything can be compared to other machines. We just have the ability to compare two machines, but it is a very functional tool when looking at hatch windows or behavior between one machine or another one. So, well, as I mentioned, this is hatcher number 4, where we have the name of the machine right here, and the other one that is under is hatcher number 3. So we can see that probably they came out from the same incubator. The environment was uniform. For both systems, we have maintenance menu. The maintenance it's a tool that is underused in most of the locations, because you gotta do like a feedback on it. You gotta do like a maintenance program on it. Hatchcom has like a preload program, but Maestro, you gotta do it manually. However, you can make tasks and assign it to a specific person. You can also have like pop-outs or alarms of the homeworks or tasks that have been assigned. And so if we really use it, it helps not only maintenance, but you can also like put or customize some other tasks or works, such as a profile test, where we want to follow up how the hatch is or how was the performance of a specific machine. We can do that. And it's a very nice tool if we really use it. So I really invite you to, take out the use of the both system and use this tool that sometimes is underutilized. You can also see or adjust the machine settings. So on the Platinum side, we will have most of the settings available to be adjusted. And on the Maestro side, we just have settings on the rock machine. So if you have a rock machine, you can adjust PIDs and settings of each parameters. If you don't have a rock control, then it is not available. You should go directly to the control and adjust the settings. All right, this is a very, very nice tool we have on Hatchcom. And is the set point report. So set point report allow us to view some actions such as profile start or profile cancel, or also we can see calibration, which is one of the really nice tools we have on Hatchcom, because you can see when was the calibration done and how much was it adjusted. And on the other hand, with the Chipmaster line, we don't have that ability. So we can see, and it is a little bit tough because we gotta search it on the graphs. However, it can be like seen, but it just takes a lot of time. So this tool that we have on the Platinum controls and on the Hatchcom system, it really is really nice. You can see also, well, of course, you can see all the calibration, temperature, humidity, CO2 calibrations, the three of them. So this tool is a really functional tool we have available. And also, of course, helps for troubleshooting, because we know, especially on the single stage equipment, we should do a verification each cycle on the incubators, and on the hatchers at least 3 times each 3 hatches. So it is very, very important to have like a regular monitoring of the calibration, if it was done or not, and how much was it adjusted. Of course, and if it was done at the correct time, because things can happen, and sometimes we have seen cases where the calibration was done, for example, at day 15 or 16, where we have already damper open. So it won't be as exact as it is when you do it with the damper closed, no heating, no cooling activation, and having the machine very uniform and stable. Another really nice tool we have from the Hatchcom and the Platinum on the Jamesway side is the numeric report. So on the numeric report, we can have different kind of data, and it is very, very detailed, because here is where the graphs are done. So we have the date, the time, we have the type of profile that you select. We have also the day cycle, which is the embryo age. We have the temperatures, humidity, damper, where you can see like the set point and the real one. And you will also see CO2, heating percentage, cooling percentage, etc., etc., etc. Like all the things that you have graphed, you will see it on a numeric report, which is, of course, much more detailed. You can also pull it to an Excel sheet, which helps analyzing better the data. So it really helps analyzing and doing troubleshooting. You can choose also the frequency or the time, the range of the time you want to set, which also helps, because it avoids you to have like a lot of data on the same file. So you can select what time do you want to see the data. All right, so what can you let's see the examples. What can you review? Sorry. So what can you review in a Maestro or Hatchcom routine? We will go over these topics, 8 topics. So on an incubation cycle, you should try to see at least these kind of bullet points, because it will help you go over the cycle itself and review if it was performed okay or if it wasn't. So first thing we should take a look when analyzing data is the incubation times. So incubation times means how long was the process, at what time did we transfer. And so I did like a little chart over here, or a chart where I take notes of the events. So first thing I will see will be I will take a look, will be the set time. So at what time were the eggs set on the incubator? Second point will be start incubation hour, because we know that egg holding times are not considered incubation. So it is very important to separate both. We should take out egg holding time and preheating time. So we will start incubation time when the machine level up the temperature. Another very important thing is to have clear at what time did the eggs were transferred. So it gives us a clue by different ways. I mean, on the Jamesway side, we can see it by the CO2 levels, and on the Maestro side, we can see it when you know, like usually when temperature drops down. Then we should follow the process to the hatcher and see at what time were the hatchers pulled. So normally on the single stage, we have one incubator and 2 or 3 hatchers. So we should see at what time were they pulled. And we will take our, let's say, incubation hours, total incubation hours. So some other points we should take a look is preheating. How long was it? Because we know we can have some problems there, such as hot water flow problems, or just like a closed valve, whatever can affect the process. So it's very important to know how long did it take. Also, embryo transfer day, because for some equipment, we should not go over, let's say, 18.5 days of transference. Or for example, we shouldn't go over 19 days. So it is very important to take a look to transference. And again, the total incubation hours. Another point is the correct setter and hatcher profile. So you should verify that the correct profile was assigned to the machine according to the type of heating. So if it was a heating element heating, if the machine has a heating element heating, they should have a little bit of more time rather than the water heating. The type of egg set, so we can have different kind of profiles according to genetic line, breeder age, and egg storage age, and also like quantity of eggs being set. So we should verify that we have the correct profile set on the machine. Another variable we can have on a profile is transference day, especially for the chick master line. So we should make sure that the incubator had the correct profile, as well as the hatcher. Another point that you should take a look when reviewing an incubation cycle will be the machine following the set point. So for example, in this graph, we have a set point here let me go over laser. And we have a set point of humidity, and it is not following it. So we should take a look, why is it happening? Do we have a sensor that is not calibrated? Or maybe do we have a machine that is not correctly sealed? So those kind of questions we should make ourselves and go to the machine and review. So set points should be following, should be, yeah, like. Another point is, or another question we can do ourselves is the machine following the profile according to times. So at this graph, especially right here, we see that there was like an increasement of humidity here, because they didn't set the eggs right here, they set them right here. And it was like very late on the profile. So the profile has started very previous, and we have had the transference delayed. So that is very important. Remember, the profiles should be adjusted according to embryo age. Heating and cooling activation at the correct time. So it is very, very important to have both systems acting on the time we want. So at this hatcher graph that we have over here, we can see that there was a heating activated on this point that is over here, where we were almost finishing our hatcher cycle. So at the end of the process, we know the chicks are producing a lot of heat, and the machine should be cooling all the time instead of heating. So again, if we see these kind of behaviors, we can do some questions ourselves. So is the machine correctly sealed? Do we have a blower? Is the blower very, very strong? Do we have a partial exit that doesn't produce the enough heat to maintain the temperature set point? One of the most important points that are shown on the graphing system is the hatch window. So hatch window has, I think, like, it concludes or summarizes how the process was. So it gives us some clues if the temperature was correct, if the eggs are alive, of course, and also give us information of pool times. So the hatch window, a normal hatch window, should be around 24 hours to 30 hours. We can have, on a very, very good maintenance, a good shape machine, we can have hatch windows of 20 hours if we have just one flock in there. And the importance of having a short hatch window is knowing that the process was very uniform. If we have very uniform temperatures, then we will have a short hatch window compared to a ununiform machine that will give us a wide hatch window. So first of all will be the hatch window duration. The second point that should be reviewed on a hatch window graph will be the time from peak to pool. So peak to pool can vary depending on readiness of the chicks. So, and can be between, let's say 15, 18 to 20 hours. Those are the correct times. However, remember, the chicks are the ones who speak us and who tell us which is the correct time. But the hatch window can be a clue to have it. So here we have a graph, for an example of a hatch window, where we can see that the duration of the hatch window was 27 hours, and the time from peak to pool was 17 hours. So again, we can see these times by stepping on the start and the end, and then you can take the difference of the duration of it. Another option we have, like, a really nice world and give us a really large view of the behavior of the machines, are the ventilation systems being connected to the Maestro or Hatchcom. So we will also see graphing, we can adjust, and we can zoom in or zoom out the graphs of the room humidity, room temperature, room pressure. So it will give us like a larger view of our hatchery. If you have, like, not only the control, but you have also the ventilation equipment sold by our lines, then you will also be able to see like fan speeds, pumps behaviors. So you will have like a larger view of the system, which makes it more, I'll say, like, more controlled. So you will have more control of your hatchery. And we can also facilitate a lot of troubleshooting, because it will also record more alarms. So we will see if, for example, a fan was stopped, an exhaust fan was stopped, or maybe a room sensor is broken or is not doing the correct lecture. So these really help us have like a larger view of a hatchery. It will also give us graphs, and again, you can filter, you can adjust times, you can play with it a little bit. You will see the real humidity in real time instead of having those sheet of papers being filled by the operators. So you will have like the exact temperature, exact humidity, and exact pressure graph. So you will see like the incubation, like the alarms. And if you have everything connected, then you will have all type of alarms, incubation equipment and ventilation equipment as well. So let's go over some real examples. Here we have an incubator, a multi-stage incubator that was set at the same time. However, one zone took less time compared to the second zone to recuperate temperature. So as a byproduct of this, we will have some eggs that will hatch first and some eggs that will hatch later. And we can have those 3 hours of difference on the hatching time. So this type of information is very valuable. Maybe it could be that the zone on the front didn't have correct seals or was not calibrated properly, or maybe it was a partial set and it was not distributed, like split into a correct pattern. And something I want to mention here is the partial sets should be done according to the type of equipment you have. So if we follow, for example, like a Jamesway pattern on a Chickmaster machine, then this can happen. Compared to this graph where we have, again, a multi-stage setter and both zones recuperate temperature or get that set point at the same time. So we will have like a very uniform hatch, and we won't have difference between the one zone or the other one. Here we have like a warm-up graph, and we can see how long did it take. So the graph shows that the initial heating was consistent and uniform. We do not see significant variations on the increasement of the temperature on each zone. So here we have 4 zones. Each color means one zone. This indicates that the egg mass had a uniform temperature when heating began. So all the eggs will achieve the temperature at the same time. Here we have another example. So on this example, we have like a little bit of problems increasing the temperature at the end. So it could be like a pressure issue, or maybe we had on some controls, we can do water and heating elements warm up being activated during the warm up. And so, for example, if there's like a set point that we can adjust to have just both systems at certain time and then keep heating just with heating elements. So this could be one of those cases that at the end, this time was heating just by heating elements instead of heating and water. So it took like a little bit longer to warm up. Here we had another example. We have a setter that is, like a little bit fighting itself, because right here it is going over heating. So probably this was like a partial set, or the machine was being unloaded, or it was just being loaded. So we have just few eggs on it, and it didn't have like the enough egg mass to produce the heat if it was a multi-stage machine. However, this was like a single stage machine, and maybe it was like a partial set. So see how is the percentages of cooling and heating. Yeah, it was the information suggests that the incubator was heating or cooling as much as 65% of the time. So it was like fighting itself. This is another case right here where we have there could be a problem in calibration because zone 1 is showing a tendency to have a temperature above the set point, if we see over here. And zone 2 has like a cycles of under temperature. Also, we can see that humidity is below set point. Here we have like this, like the Hatcher graph, where we're comparing two Hatcher humidity graphs. So we can see that one Hatcher start hatching before than Hatcher number 3. So maybe the eggs were different age, or maybe we had like a calibration issue on one zone compared to another one, which makes a delayed hatch window. So we're gonna go over 2 cases. This is the first one. So real case evaluation number 1, context, we have layered chicks. They look dehydrated, and Hatcher trays with meconium have been observed. So they came out from one incubator. This was like an A18 incubator and a Vida. And the first thing that we can see over here is look how the front zone, sorry, was heating a lot during the incubation cycle compared to second and third zone. So the first point that like put my eye on it was the heating behavior of the machine on this zone. So we had like a difference of, let's say, 9% between the rear and the front zone. These were the hatch windows that we could see over these graphs. So this incubator was transferred to 3 hatchers. And we will see the difference between the hatch window of one and the other one. So incubator 2 had 10-hour difference between zone 1 and zone 3 of the incubator. So 10-hour difference means a lot. And for sure, it was not like a breeder age issue. So we go directly to review. We went directly to see calibration. However, as it was like a repeat case, because we see it on a very regular frequency, it was not just one machine, it was more than one machines. So we went over calibrating the calibrator. And what happened is that the probe that always went to the front zone of the machines and was calibrating this front zone of the incubator was 0.7 Fahrenheit, had a deviation of 0.7 Fahrenheit. So for the machines that were calibrated with this calibrator, they were all off. This is one of the reasons why calibrator should always be calibrated. Other way, we will have like we will struggle the hatch, not just one machine. We can damage more than one machine. So here we can see another cycle. So another case. So the context was that the hatchability was dropped by 9%. And the partial, we had a partial set of 50% of the machine. So the incubator was set just with the 50% of the capacity. We saw the incubator cycle, we went over the graph and it looked okay. However, it had like of course, less CO2 than the other graphs or the other cycles. And when we took a look to the hatch windows over both hatchers where the machine was transferred, they look really wide. So we had like a set point here that will give us like a guide of how the hatch window should be. And if you see over here, the hatch window was very long. It didn't peak as much because it was a partial set, of course, and they had like a very wide hatch window, like a long hatch window. So we recommend to adjust the fan speed according to the quantity of the eggs that were set on a specific machine. So if we had less eggs being set, fan speed should be adjusted on incubators and on hatchers. Here we had the fan speed being adjusted. We did also like a profile adjustment just to give more temperatures to this type of exits. And yeah, that was the last real case we had. So as a conclusion, and something that will be good to have to keep on your minds, is that the best way to become familiar is creating like a checklist and assign somebody to take a look to it and analyze the data. It is essential to have a good communication between maintenance, quality, and production department to report possible alterations in the process, make corrective actions, and generate processes that prevent a certain event from repeating itself. The purpose of getting data is doing an analysis. If we have data but nobody keeps an eye on it, then it's a losing of time and losing of data. So we really invite you to analyze your graphs, go over your Hatchcom and your Maestro, and get familiar with it and use it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You can unshare your screen so everybody can see all of you now.
Yay.
Very good presentation. One question, we got several questions on here, but one question I want to ask is, how long is the data stored? Like if somebody's not looking at it, as often as they should, I'll put it that way, because they should be looking at it often. How long can they go back? Like 30 days, 60 days, how long?
Yeah, it depends on the system. It also depends on how many machines they have connected. Because of course, if we have a larger hatchery, then it's much more information compared to a small hatchery, but we can go over 3 months.
Okay. So typically they can go back about that far.
Yes.
Typically. But
yes.
That's why it's good to be on a routine. I'd love those systems going in a hatchery and looking at what's going on in there. So a couple of questions is you talked about how you showed different scenarios there where you were comparing different graphs. Can all of this be done in Hatchcom or in Maestro, or do you, when you're analyzing, do you often take them out and save graphs and then just put them side by side in another format? How do you generally do that?
Well, so if I'm looking to a Maestro, then I compare it right away there. But with a Hatchcom, what we can do is just have the Excel sheet and graph 2 or 3 or more machines and compare heating, cooling, humidity, everything. So I think both have like its advantages, and you can do the same purpose. I mean, you can compare with Hatchcom and you can compare with Maestro, with both of them. Usually, again, if it's a Hatchcom, then I go through Excel and have just the graphs and compare the data. And if it's a Maestro, as we don't have like a numeric report, then I might go over the comparing option. Or taking a screenshot and pasting the pictures and compare them on a Word or on a, you know, like a PowerPoint.
Can you set up in Maestro, this is specific for Maestro, set up alarms, like a notification of alarms through text message or something like that through Maestro?
Yes, you can.
And then also answer that for Hatchcom as well.
For both. Yeah.
So they can be set up in there.
Right. Yeah.
And
that option is available.
And I'll just tell everybody that if you have any questions, because there's a lot of information in here, you can always reach back out to Carolina directly or to any of our Jamesway team, and we can kind of help you through it. Carolina's done a great job of getting on customers' systems and looking at their data. So that's always an option to get some assistance that way.
And you know, it's something that happens sometimes is that to have that text messages or emails, alarms, or getting alarms to the emails or through the text messages, you should have internet on the hatchery. So that is one of the requirements. And for at least Maestro, you should also have like a phone line to have that yeah. So both of them should be on site.
Makes our job a lot easier. We're able to
totally.
Makes your job easier too, but makes our job easier as well. So what is the latest version? Somebody asked what the latest version of like the Maestro.
So Maestro, we have one, I think on this year is the last one we have. And because we have like the 360 system, so it gives us like an option to join the program and to have some options there. And for Hatchcom, well, we have the last version of Hatchcom is Hatchcom 4, maybe. You correct myself?
Or 4.3 ... or maybe 4.4. I don't know. They update pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, from what Maestro, we can update it online. So if you want us to update any version, we can do it.
And the Hatchcom has to be updated on site.
On site.
So unfortunately, we don't have that option to do it online. And one of the questions here, and we can have a little discussion about this. I know the answer. Can you install Hatchcom in a Chickmaster facility? The answer is no, but for the new versions of the equipment coming out, the Platinum 3 versions that will have both, you know, the Platinum ECU version and then the Chickmaster version with the paddle fan, those will all have a very similar they'll have the same operating system. So moving forward, they will be the same. So you'll have some of the same functionality of them. But as of now, correct me if I'm wrong, but as of now, we cannot.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. I mean, let's say from now to the future and the future controls, we will join both. But for the controls that are behind, no, we should have both of them separately. Yeah.
And you talked about calibrating machines. How often should the different machines? I know between Chickmaster and the Jamesway Platinum, it's different, but how often would you recommend?
Well, from the single stage side for both machines, I'll recommend going through calibration each exit on the single stage side. And for the incubators and on the hatchers should be at least each three transferences for each 3 cycles. On the multi-stage machines, we have like let's say like a set point, a fixed set point. You can do it each month, ideally. And it's a verification. Sometimes it is not a really calibration, it's a verification, just putting the calibrator and comparing the data between the screen and the calibrator, but at least once a month.
And one thing I know some people calibrate, or they check their calibration even weekly often. One thing I will recommend that I've seen is don't overreact to it. So like if you look at it one time and it's, oh, we're going to fix it right now and go back. And I've seen some instances of that when you look over time that they're just bouncing up and down because they're reacting right away. And a lot of times if you're doing them that frequently, you want to see what's happening in like a 2-week period. Okay, is it consistently 0.2 off or something, then adjust. But if you're trying to adjust every little tenth or 2/10 every single time, you can get in trouble. That's what I've seen anyway.
Yeah, that's.
The alarm information for setters and hatchers, is that the same thing, 3 months? It'll be stored. So if somebody want to look at
Yeah. It could be a little less. Like 2 months, I will say, because depending on how many alarms did you have on the time.
Yeah. For somebody's asking about a new calibrator. They don't have access to update it. What should they do? I know with some of the equipment we can do calibration at some of the equipment we use for Jamesway. We can do that in house, but I believe most of the time we send them off to the manufacturer of that. You have to is so many different pieces of equipment. Do you have any comments on that?
You mean like calibrating the calibrator?
Yeah, when they've got their calibration equipment, we have to get them and I know the consultant team we have, some of them they're sending them in, they're just on a set schedule of getting them sent in because we go to so many hatcheries and we want them right.
Yeah. Well, on the Chick Master side, we have like a master calibrator, which is the Mercury probe. And normally we compare the calibrator to that Mercury probe. And the Mercury probe should be sent to a laboratory to be certified at least once a year. So,
yeah, that's what I would say, at least once a year. And I've been in some hatcheries where they pull out, I've got 3 different thermometers here, and the most recent one was calibrated 4 years ago, and the other one like 5 years. I mean, you don't have any idea.
Yeah.
One comment that I can answer on here is somebody asked about a timeline of the integration of the 2 systems. Essentially, it's any new orders coming out now, if you're going with the single stage option, whether it be the C3 or the P3 with Chickmaster version, or the P3 with the Jamesway version, the different types of ventilation in them. From here on out, they will be integrated, be the same. So that kind of answers that. And so, if you have existing facilities and equipment, that's a different issue, and we'll have to discuss that in a specific detailed setting with what you currently have. But anything from here on forward, if you're ordering now from Jamesway, that they will be integrated.
Yeah.
How do we know if the humidity is set right in our incubators?
Sorry,
the humidity.
How should be set, or how it should be calibrated?
If it's correct. How do we correct?
How do we know if it's correct?
Yeah.
Well, one is calibrating. So depending on the type of equipment you have, we have a wet bulb sensor. So the wet bulb sensor should be calibrated as a temperature probe. And if you have a relative humidity probe on your machine, according if it's multi or single, then you should calibrate it with a calibrator. That's the best way to know if it's okay or not. Right. If it's reading properly or not. However, if you go over the room, because I don't know if they're saying more going over the room, each machine has its own requirements according to the line.
Okay. This is a little bit off topic of what you were discussing today, but I've heard you discuss this not too long ago. Somebody's asking about Chickmaster multi-stage incubators, maximum number of sets you can do in a day, and really it's by week. But can you kind of discuss that a little bit?
Well, the maximum capacity is what the machine offers. So if it is like classic 765, then you will go with 15,000 eggs. That is the maximum what you can get.
But I think maybe what they're asking is like, at least I get that from here. Could you in one day, could you do like a partial put eggs in like in the morning and then later in the afternoon put more in? I kind of sounds like that's what they're getting at, and it kind of messes up the whole balance of having the 6 stages in there, and then you've got different hours, and I think you're asking for trouble, I think.
Well, it depends then if it is not too long, and so for example you're setting one machine and waiting 1 hour for a break or something like that and doing like a separate exit on a different incubator, that's okay. But if you're doing it on the same incubator, that is not okay. You should always do the whole set at the same time, and ideally have the 100% of the capacity of the machine. That is the best perform of the machine. That is the way it performs best.
And
on every machine.
Yeah, and I think just as a general rule, we need to remember multi-stage, how multi-stage operate. They need to be, they're ideally set full and set in the pattern that we ask. Because we occasionally have some people say, well, I'm going to skip this week, or I'm going to skip one. I mean, you're just asking for problem. I mean, it can handle it if you make some adjustments, but we don't recommend it at all. So.
Yeah. And maybe, I don't know if they're, well, when I used to work on the hatchery, sometimes we gotta hatch more chicks than what we were able to. So sometimes you do things, strange things, so such as like trying to find empty spaces and putting there on a chick master machine, putting there like egg trays on the empty spaces you have for I don't know, for a set you did 1 week ago. However, it alterates the airflow of the machine, and you won't have a good hatch for sure. Right. You can have more chicks, of course, because you're setting that you won't have a good number.
When you're calibrating the machines, do you recommend calibrating them with eggs in them or without, or what stage? You know, do you have to let them get a certain stage of development?
Yes. So calibration should be performed with eggs on the machine, always on incubator and hatchers. And for the incubators, you should do it just like 2 days after exit. So you will have no heating being activated, no usually no cooling, of course, no humidifying, damper closed at 0%. And that is the way you got like the best uniform environment on the machine, because the goal of a calibration is having the best uniformity in environment inside of the machine. So on an incubator will be that way. On a hatcher will be like, let's say 12 hours after the transference. Or even less. You can do it 3 or 4 hours after transference. It is very important also to have the machine full set. So have the maximum capacity of the machine, have it full. Because if you have a partial set, then again, you will have like cold spots that can alter the uniformity of the environments inside of the machine.
And the other reason we want to do calibrations when eggs are in them is because we want to calibrate when it's at the approximate temperature they're supposed to be. Like if you try and calibrate it when they're empty, they're going to be in a much cooler environment. Humidity, temperature, everything is going to be very distant from where we're trying to achieve. And so we want to do the calibration when we're very close to, you know, the operating temperature. So, I mean, it's just not as effective to do that when it's empty. Okay, there's a few more questions in here, and I think what we'll do is we'll have Carolina answer those individually. Some of them are a little specific, might involve a few more questions in there. So you will get your questions answered. You know, at a later time, we'll get the questions together and address them that way. But thank you so much for the presentation. I know I learned a lot from it as well. I always enjoy hearing you talk and your perspective, and you do a lot of really good things for us and our customers being able to access this. So thank you very much.
Oh,
And
thank
thank
you,
you,
Dr.
everybody,
Keith.
for joining us today on our webinar. And look for us, we will have another webinar scheduled next month. And so look for the announcements on that, and we'll hope to see you all then. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day, everybody.